Hey, welcome everyone to a review of the Soundcore Space Q45 noise cancelling over-the-ear headphones. Now if you want to see the written version of this review, you can find a link to my website in the video description. Now the Q45s are regarded as the premium headphones from Soundcore. Now here in Canada, they're priced at a pretty reasonable $199 plus tax, and in the United States, it's $169. Of course, you can get them on sale here and there. So if you're really interested in these, I do recommend be patient a little bit, look around and wait for a sale. To get a connection established, it does support a wireless and wired connection, and the auxiliary port is located on the bottom of the right ear cup. Now the cable length of the auxiliary cable that comes with it is a hefty 49 inches, and each end of the cable is 3.5 millimeter. And you can use the headphones when the battery is dead. Not that there'll be a problem because the battery is superb. And not only that, while you're using auxiliary connection, you can use ANC mode. That's of course if there's battery available. It does support one of the latest standards of Bluetooth, which is 5.3, which is great to see. Provides a stronger, longer connection. And on that regard, according to Soundcore documentation, it supports a range of 50 feet. In my testing, I couldn't do that, straight line of sight. So I had a testing done throughout my home at about 30 feet with two walls in between. I was still able to get the sound coming through. So I think their claim is going to be pretty accurate on that regard. It does support dual connectivity, which you have to ensure is activated and on in the app. And once it does, you can connect to two devices at the same time. Now, in terms of how many devices you can keep in memory to flip through before having to repair them all over again, there's no information listed on Soundcore's website or documentation. But in my testing, I was able to get 4 devices paired, which is going to be more than enough for most people anyway. Switching over to accessories, included in the box is a hard traveling case, which is great to see for mid-tier priced headphones. And not only that, as previously mentioned, there is an auxiliary cable. There's also a USB cable for charging. Unfortunately, that connection is USB-C to USB-A. It's not a pure USB-C cable, and that cable is measuring at 10 inches. There's no power adapter included in the box, as they do expect you to use your own power adapter, say from your cell phone charger or connected directly to a computer, which is perfectly normal for most headphone manufacturers. The Q45 has a modest look with the Soundcore logo faded onto the ear cup. The design could have benefited from a colored logo, such as the Soundcore Life Q30, which I also have reviewed. You can find a link to that review in the video description. But those last two things I mentioned don't take away from the review and my final verdict. That's just my personal thoughts being laid out there. And still on the topic of colors, the headphones do come in 3 color options: black, which is what I have, blue, and white. The body does support a folding design. If you want to collapse it in, just kind of toss it into a laptop bag, you do have that option. It's also weighing a hefty 301 grams, which is near the same weight as most premium headphones. So it feels like a fair bit of material was used. And still sticking on that point, the body construction is sturdy. Despite it being mid-tier price, this feels like it could take a fair amount of abuse before getting permanently damaged. I do doubt it is dust and water resistant because no mention of it in any documentation or online. In fact, when I went to Soundcore's website of listing of water resistant devices, the Q45 is not listed there. Now, when it comes to comfort, whether you're wearing glasses or do not wear glasses, I've tested in both scenarios and is equally comfortable with or without glasses. That, of course, testing was done sometimes at 3 hours straight of wearing them, and I felt no discomfort with the glasses or without the glasses, no sweaty ears, none of that stuff. It felt great. One thing I do not recommend is using them for working out. I do find that it'll make your ears sweat a lot because you're working out. Your ears are encompassed in over the ear headphones, whereas without working out, I can wear them for 3 hours straight. I don't sweat a bit. The headband flex is a little tight, but as I mentioned, the headphones are still extremely comfortable. The ear cushion's comfort is firm and soft. There was no sacrifice on padding there, as well as no sacrifice on padding on the interior headband, which works well for people with little to no hair. All the tremendous amount of padding used throughout the headphones, honestly, seems like there's no expense spared when it comes to material used. Adjusting the headbands is done on soft sliding notches, and the ear cup rotation can go forward and back easily, as well as up and down. But when going up and down, there's some slight resistance, but nothing to ruin the comfort level. Official replacement ear pads are available, but unfortunately only in black color for some strange reason. However, many third-party retailers online will have various color options. Anyone else trying to rest them on your neck? Well, it depends on how you're going to wear them. So looking left and right, not comfortable because the ear cups are just too large, and looking down is even more annoying. Now, if you try to fold them in, you can't look left and right and down very comfortably, although there's a slight dig into my neck ever so slightly. What you can do is put it in transparency mode, which again I'll talk about shortly, although it doesn't work that well on this price headphones, or you can just kind of do this, which is what I do sometimes, and just walk around. Okay, so switching over to controls, because you gotta know how to use it, right? On the left ear cup near the bottom is a power button for powering it, well, on and off, and holding this button will enter Bluetooth pairing mode. Above that button is another button to cycle between ANC modes, which I'll discuss later. On the right ear cup near the bottom is the play pause button, which is also used for answering and hanging up a call, as well as some other minor functions. Above that is the volume rocker, so volume up is present, and holding volume up will go to the next track. Volume down is also available, and of course holding volume down will go to the previous track. The button layout on the Q45s, as well as many Soundcore headphones that I've reviewed, are really annoying. You see, when I'm looking to press and hold the volume down button, I assume it's the most lowest button, but when I press and hold it, I'm actually pressing the play pause button by accident. I'm not sure why the play pause button isn't in between the volume up and down button. That would have made a lot more sense, and what a lot of other headphone manufacturers do as well. When connected to your smartphone, it will integrate and work with your smart assistant. I did my testing with Android and Google Assistant, except it was horrible. Many problems. If you double tap the play pause button, it'll activate your voice assistant. Here's the problem. The first is that sometimes it wouldn't activate Google Assistant at all. Other times it would, but it wouldn't play the dun dun tone to let me know it's listening and waiting for command. It's just on. So I just have to assume it's listening when half the time it doesn't work, as I mentioned. The other problem is sometimes when it plays back something. So if I ask it the time and it'll tell me what the time is, I can barely hear anything, even if the volume is really increased highly. There's no passive play pause on these headphones, which honestly is not a big deal. You don't really expect that on all mid-tier headphones, but I want to mention it. That functions basically when you're wearing the headphones, everything's playing on your content just fine. When you take the headphones off, it'll automatically pause the content. That is not available. Now let's talk about ANC modes. ANC, which stands for active noise canceling, which will try to cancel exterior noise to the best of its ability using technology, works incredibly well. In fact, it works better than it should at this price tag, admittedly. And if we're taking a bus, maybe you hear a lot of bus engine noise, those low humming pitch sounds, even if they're very loud, will be canceled out and negated fairly well. Honestly, if you're looking to really travel on a budget on a plane, these might actually get the job done. I'm actually surprised at how well they perform. Now, when it comes to vocals, fair amount of vocals will come through. Again, at this price point, you can't really complain. However, it still performs better than I would have expected it at $200 Canadian priced headphones. Now, transparency mode, in which the microphones and the headphones will turn on and let exterior noise traverse into your ears so you can hear surroundings better. It's okay. It sounds like everyone you're talking to, even if they're within 10 feet range, is in a tunnel. You can hear what they're saying and have conversations just fine, but again, it sounds like they're in a tunnel or something. Again, you can't complain at this price point. Anything beyond 10 feet, you can just barely make out what people are saying. There is regular headphone mode, which basically all technology is turned off. It'll just play the content you're listening to. So passive noise canceling on these ear cups are okay because they're over the ear and the thick cushioning will help a little bit. But honestly, you usually want to have regular headphone mode if the battery needs to be conserved. The battery's so good on these, that's not a concern. Last thing to mention in the same type of topic of area is side tone mode. So basically when you're wearing the headphones and you're on a phone call, side tone allows you to hear your own voice and exterior noise around you. So it gives you an idea of what it sounds like for the person on the other side of the call. It's not available even in the app. Not a big deal. It's not truly expected at mid-tier price headphones, so just something to be wary about. Okay, so let's switch to the battery, which I've been talking about quite often throughout the video. Now, Soundcore claims with the volume priced at 60%, the battery with ANC mode on will last 50 hours. I got 47 hours, which is fairly close to Soundcore's claim, but typically transparency and ANC mode battery is relatively equal. That's truly the case here. I got about 47.5 hours, so pretty spot on there. Now when it comes to regular headphone mode, so no ANC, no transparency mode, Soundcore claims you'll get about 65 hours. In my testing, I was able to get 76 hours, although I have to admit it wasn't always consistently at 60% volume. That was me fluctuating between 50 to 60% volume, so because I had lower volume at times, it kind of explains why the battery lasted longer and equals close to what Soundcore claims is. Soundcore claims it'll take about 2 hours to recharge the headphones, but in my testing I was able to get it down within an hour and a half. The USB-C charging port location is located on the bottom of the left ear cup. Okay, so all audio that you hear right now is coming through the microphone on the Q45 in a quiet setting. What I'm going to do is switch over to replicating a noisy kind of restaurant cafe environment You're going to hear audio through the camera microphone, and I'm going to compare it to the Q45 so you can tell if it isolates a lot of the background noise and cancels it out in the microphone or not. And then lastly, I'm going to do a wind test. Okay, so I'm replicating a cafe noisy environment situation through the camera microphone. Let's switch over to the Q45s. And you can kind of determine for yourself if it's canceling out a lot of the exterior surrounding noise. And I stop talking for a few seconds so you can take a listen for yourself. Okay, lastly, I'm doing a wind test with the fan sitting about 5 feet away from me, trying to see if it gets a lot of the wind noise and will it reduce it on the microphone. Audio codecs supported SBC, AAC, and surprisingly LDAC, but there's a bit of a catch. Out of the box, I find it a little bit lackluster. There's not a lot of energy in any way. It's not like it's truly flat and boring. I just would have expected a bit more from Soundcore because some of their headphones out of the box perform with some oomph and energy. But of course, there's an equalizer available in the app, which I'll demo and go over very quickly, so you can kind of bring the sound to what you want for your needs. Now, when it comes to adjusting the equalizer for the bass, the lows, it can get a nice thump going in your ears, but I felt like a lot of energy was kind of missing from the lows. It wasn't horrible, it just wasn't punching as hard as I felt it could. Like, there's a nice thump, but some of the deepest songs I was playing, it just wasn't really pushing that energy hard. I admit, I'm a bass enthusiast. I'm not expecting over the top like the Sony ULTs, which I reviewed recently. That is truly for bass enthusiasts. You get literally rumble in your head. Link to that review is in the video description. But I just found it a little bit lackluster from Soundcore. Now, when it comes to adjusting the vocals, it can make them shine tremendously with the right song. I felt that vocals could really stand out. It was no sacrifice on any other sound quality, lows or highs, or any of the instrumentals kind of suffering. It was crystal clear. There was a bit of a catch though. So one particular song I was testing some of the vocals and overall sound on was Always Love You by Elton John featuring Young Thug and Nicki Minaj. Yeah, you heard me. I'm not sure how they got that company to come together and perform, but hey, they did a pretty good job, so can't complain. On that song, Elton John, his vocals are standout and it sounded superb, excellent. Although there's some parts of the song where he sings a bit high pitch, and with the vocals pushed up higher, it got too sharp for my ears. It's kind of annoying and I had to reduce the vocals ever so slightly. And yeah, you can reduce the vocals ever so slightly, and I found this really weird because almost no headphones with vocals has ever done that. That usually happens when I push the highs too high. And the strangest thing is that Elton John wasn't performing that much of a high-pitched voice. When it comes to pushing up the high tiers, you get some nice, sharp, crisp sound coming through. It wasn't too sharp and wasn't too annoying for my ears. It was just enough, right amount of energy to be present and make it enjoyable, add more energy to the song. Okay, sound quality with glasses. There's one thing I've noticed, and this is pretty much the exact same story with every single over-the-ear noise-canceling headphones from any brand, is that the sound quality sounds exactly like it does with almost any song. The one catch though is lows, the bass. It leaks out quite a bit because you have some of the headphones kind of poking out because of the frame. I noticed that bass leaks out quite a bit. It's not a problem with the Q45. That just happens with every over-the-ear noise cancelling headphones just due to the physical design of them. Okay, so diving into the Soundcore app, I'm going to select the Q45 from my list of Soundcore devices. And the first thing you see at the top middle is the ability to switch between ANC, transparency mode, all that good stuff. There's one thing I like here is that you can customize the level of noise canceling. So you can have it maxed out and cancel as much noise as possible, or maybe halfway or minimal. So I do love that feature. There's one function called adaptive noise cancelling, which tries to automatically adjust ANC based on exterior noise levels. I find it to be a gimmick. I like it instead. I find it much more effective. Safe volume is a feature I love to see, but it's pretty rare. Not that I ever have to go through this function, but it tries to set kind of a threshold for limiting if volume gets too out of control. Controls is just two quick functionalities you can use for quick shortcuts. Sound effects is where a lot of the meat potatoes is. So you have a custom equalizer, which I have here. I kind of just been messing around with it here. But whatever you adjust in the equalizer here will carry over to any other device you have connected at the same time. So for example, if my computer is connected at the same time, it'll adjust the equalizer settings over to my computer audio. Default, if you tap on it once, we'll go to default sound signature. The arrow, you can go to some templates created by Soundcore, and then of course you have the bass up function. We'll just kind of ramp up bass ever so slightly, but you can do that in the equalizer manually anyway. Here ID will basically go through some sound tests and kind of adapt and tune the equalizer automatically based on what it thinks is the best listening sound signature for you. I find this to be more of a gimmick, to be honest. I'd rather just use my manual settings. And lastly, going over to the settings, the most important thing here, of course, is the firmware updates ability. You can see your list of devices you have in memory. As I mentioned, I have 4, and suppress wind noise, and some other functions. They're not too important, but it's something I want to quickly point out. The Q45 ends up summarizing to a pretty solid option that's worth considering, especially if you want to travel quite often, whether it be bus, train, plane. ANC performance performs a lot better than anticipated at this inexpensive price tag. So for the premium headphones, which are still actually mid-tier price from Soundcore, they still tend to deliver on their brand name. It's still a solid contender and worth checking out if it suits your needs. So I hope you found this video useful. If you did, be sure to check my social links and website link in the video description. Hit the like button, it does help. Subscribe, and thanks for watching.